At 03:12 local time, a single Ukrainian drone the size of a small car grinds north over the dark farmland south of Moscow. One speck in a swarm of hundreds. The Russian air defense crew think they're easy targets. But unknown to them, they're about to be tricked by something they've never seen before. Up ahead, one drone breaks from the pack and does the opposite of hiding. It lights a small turbofan and climbs, loud, fast, straight up into the radar's eye, begging to be seen. The scope on the Russian radar fills with contacts. Somewhere to the northeast, a radar snaps on, and a missile rips off the rail at the climbing drone. A heartbeat later, a second one. The drone jukes. Both missiles chase it across the black. In a cabin to the northeast, the crew sees exactly the target the whole system was built to swat. One fat, fast contact climbing right at them. Solid track. Easy shot. The air defense officer makes the call he's been drilled 1,000 times to make. Shoot the fast one. Two more missiles tear off the rails toward the climber. Four now chasing one drone. While down in the weeds, the slow contacts keep crawling north. Ignored. Far to the south, in a field in Ukraine, the two operators have nothing left to do but wait. Their screen is black. The sticks do nothing. The next time they'll know whether it worked or not is when the satellite photos come in at dawn. What just threw that missile is an S-400. NATO calls it the SA-21 Growler, the long-range crown jewel of Russian air defense. Built to knock fighters and cruise missiles out of the sky 250 miles off, the distance from Moscow clear to the far side of the front line, locking onto dozens of targets at once and flinging missiles at 4 times the speed of sound. A magnificent piece of engineering. And against a plywood drone crawling over the treetops at delivery van speed, almost completely useless. You don't swat mosquitoes with a sledgehammer. So the loud climbing drone it's hammering right now is no Ukrainian mistake. It's bait. And the S-400 just bit down on a target worth the price of a used sedan with a missile worth the price of a house. This is an ADM-160 MAL-D, a miniature air-launched decoy, American-built, kicked off a Ukrainian MiG-29 long before the jet ever came near Moscow's defenses. On radar, it reads like a fighter or a cruise missile. Fat, fast, exactly the kind of contact the whole system was built to swat. And to a defense already primed for it, it's catnip. Just under 3 meters long, a turbojet pushing it to nearly the speed of sound, gliding and cruising its way into the engagement on a flight plan loaded before launch. No warhead, no return trip. Its entire job is to look like something worth taking out. This is the RS-1 BARS, a jet-powered Ukrainian drone missile with one job tonight: get shot at. On radar, it reads like a cruise missile, fast, hot, screaming for the capital. And to a defense already primed for it, it's catnip. A jet-powered Ukrainian decoy drone roughly 2 meters long, turbofan pushing it to 700 kilometers per hour, the distance from Los Angeles to Las Vegas in under 25 minutes, reading like a cruise missile on radar the whole way down. No warhead, no return trip. Cost, roughly $80,000 per airframe. That price tag is the entire point. It's designed to eat missiles that cost $1.2 million apiece. Inside one of those towers, a Pantsir crew commander is already firing. Watching the fast movers up high and the slow clutter down low, he pours his ready rounds into the climbers, straight out of the manual. He's not being stupid. He's doing everything he was drilled to do, perfectly, and aiming all of it at the wrong target. It's following the recipe to the letter and still pulling a brick out of the oven. Every step right, the result inedible. If you look here at what he's shooting from, not the ground, but a tower 30 feet up, one of dozens Russia has bolted in rings around Moscow. There's cold logic in all that steel. The higher you stick a radar, the further it sees before the curvature of the Earth swallows everything low. And those are the seconds between catching a treetop drone and never seeing it at all. The Pantsir, NATO calls it the SA-22 Greyhound, is the one Russia points to when you ask how it stops drones. 12 ready missiles and a pair of 30mm guns per vehicle, low and fast enough to be the one thing out there that could actually pick our striker out of the dirt and put it down. That's the one to slip past. And that's the whole reason the BARS is up there working so hard to keep it busy, buying our drone the seconds to do just that. The BARS finally comes apart under the barrage. Its job is done. Behind it, the swarm surges into the gap its sacrifice tore open. And the drone in the middle of that swarm, the one this whole show is being put on for, has a name: FP-1 Firepoint, a Ukrainian one-way attack drone. 18 feet wingtip to wingtip, plywood and composite over a single piston engine, cruising at 160 kilometers per hour. 60 kilograms of warhead in the nose you see here. Range roughly 800 kilometers, the distance from Chicago to Atlanta on a single tank of gas. Cost about $55,000 per airframe. And Ukraine just launched 500 of them tonight. So why did that screen go black the second the Striker crossed the line? The little dish on its spine is Starlink. 6,000 American satellites in low orbit, launched out of Cape Canaveral on rockets built in Hawthorne, California, and the single piece of kit that lets two operators in a Ukrainian field fly a drone 600 miles up deep into Russia in real time. While the BARS burned down the front door, a third drone slipped in behind it, low and quiet. One of the radars that just fired at the bait goes dark. Then a second one quits the air. That blinding of the radars was the work of a third one, the BARS-SM Gladiator, and it does one ugly, beautiful thing. It rides the radar beam home. Every battery that fired at the decoy painted itself a target, and the Gladiator followed that energy straight back to the antenna throwing it. Think of it as a moth that follows the flashlight back to the hand holding it. Called the BARS-SM Gladiator, a Ukrainian anti-radiation drone built around a passive sensor that locks onto whatever radio frequency lit it up. 10 kilograms of warhead in the nose, range about 100 kilometers, Houston to Galveston and back. Unit cost, roughly $35,000 against an S-400 radar built for the price of a Manhattan apartment. But to shoot at something, you have to light it up. And lighting up is how you get found. A drone worth a sliver of its target just rode that signal home to an antenna worth tens of millions. A hole opens in the wall, the swarm pours through, the Striker's somewhere in the middle of the pack, and the first layer of the most dangerous air defense on the planet gets taken apart by a decoy and a drone that chases radio waves back to their source. This is the whole point of a swarm. You don't slip one aircraft past the best air defense on Earth. You flood it with hundreds of plywood drones that barely scratch a radar screen, and you let the defenders drown. Tonight, the door got cracked open by one jet-powered decoy and a fistful of $55,000 airframes. But on the far side of that wall, a second defender is already climbing to meet the swarm, one that needs no radar to find you, can't be fooled into chasing a decoy, and never had a screen to go dark. Something rises up to meet them on the other side. Wrong shape for a fighter, too quiet for a jet, with none of the rotor wash a helicopter would beat into the air beneath it. It's another drone, clawing for altitude straight into the oncoming pack. Look at what came up to meet them, and at what didn't. Barely a fighter over Moscow tonight. A few up high, maybe, chasing the fast movers. But down low, it's empty, with none of the helicopters or gun runs or manned aircraft you'd expect Russia to throw at a raid this size. There's a hard and physical reason for that, and it has nothing to do with nerve. Throw cannon shells and missile fragments into the sky over 13 million people, and all of it comes back down, onto the apartment blocks and streets and people you're supposed to be defending. You don't empty a shotgun straight up while standing in your own backyard. Add the risk of a jet wandering into its own side's missile fire, and the math gets simple fast. So Moscow's last ring is flown by machines, and that one fact changes everything about tonight. 20 kilometers north, a Russian operator sits in a command vehicle backed into a tree line outside the city, watching his interceptors claw upward into the swarm. Months of these nights have taught him to sort the decoys from the contacts that flinch when you lock them up and the ones that bore straight in. Tonight, the math is on his side, and that's what makes him dangerous to the drone he hasn't spotted yet. One of his interceptors slides in behind a Ukrainian escort and fires. An actual missile streaks off a rail under its wing and shreds the escort into falling debris. This is the Garand II, Russia's home-built copy of the Iranian Shahed 136, 11 feet long, 50 horsepower two-stroke moped engine, 180 kilometers per hour, 1,800 kilometer range. Russia normally fills its nose with a 40-kilogram warhead and throws it at a Kyiv apartment block for around $40,000. Tonight, this one is rigged differently. The nose carries an R-73, you see here, a Soviet-era heat seeker pulled off a fighter jet, locks onto the hottest thing in its field of view and won't let go. Now strapped to a drone worth a tenth of what the missile costs. Picture a delivery van somebody welded a gun turret onto. Never built for the job, but tonight it's hunting. The escorts guarding the swarm are suddenly the hunted. Off to the side, another machine does something stranger. It carries no weapon at all and simply flies into a Ukrainian drone. No explosion. Just two airframes tangled together, spinning toward the ground in a grip neither one walks away from. That one is a ramming interceptor. Cheap, simple, built for nothing else. It doesn't shoot the target, it becomes the weapon, closing at a combined speed that tears both machines apart. A bouncer, not a booby trap. It walks up and takes you out in person. And the beauty of it, from where the Russians sit, is that it drops no warhead or fragments on the city below. There's simply nothing to fall. There are a lot of them up there tonight, and unlike the missile shooters, they never run out of ammunition. Russia solved the ammo cost problem the way Russia usually does. It made the drone the bullet. The night over the approach erupts into a brawl. Hundreds of drones turning, diving, ramming, firing in a knife fight no one on the ground will ever see. Drones cartwheel down, trailing parts. A Garand fires and an escort tumbles away in pieces. And slowly, methodically, the Russians start to win it. The swarm thins, escorts drop one after another, and the cover the striker's been hiding inside strips away around it. Twice, a ramming interceptor slides through the thinning pack close enough to fill the striker's camera before it peels off after a louder target. With no pilot aboard to flinch, the striker holds the line and keeps grinding north through the chaos. The numbers that looked so good an hour ago are sliding the wrong way. Those interceptors cost a fraction of what they're knocking down, cheap enough to trade all night. And Russia is happy to swap them for Ukrainian escorts 1 for 1 until the sun comes up. Then the picture gets worse for the operators. When the swarm formed up and crossed the border, Russian early warning radar caught it. And now a wall of Shahed drones is screaming in on the very fields they're launching and steering from. Their own air defense is already swamped, so now they're doing two jobs at once, flying the fight over Moscow and tearing down the gear to run before the Shaheds walk up the driveway. This is the part of the long-range strike nobody puts in the recruiting videos. Like trying to grill dinner while your neighbor's sprinklers kick on and soak you from both sides. One crew yanks antenna cables and folds tripods while the other flies the whole battle off a single laptop. 2 clocks now, both running the wrong way. The fight they're losing in the sky over Moscow and the Shahed wall closing on the field under their feet. The lead operator could fold the laptop, flatten the last antenna, and be gone before the first Shahed arrives. He knows it. Cold fingers stay on the sticks instead. Working the swarm he can still reach. Whichever clock run outs first ends it. And the striker is still out ahead of all of it, deep over Russia, with nobody able to fly it at all. A relay drone drops off the net. The control picture shudders, blacks out for a full second, then snaps back, rerouted through another airframe in the swarm. The drones talk to each other, not just to the ground, passing the signal hand to hand like a bucket brigade. Knock one down, the network finds another way through. That mesh is the only reason the operators can still touch this fight from 400 miles back. And the striker, pushed out ahead of everyone else, is the one drone too far gone to reach. Whatever happens over Zelenograd happens with nobody on Earth able to touch it. The math is brutal. Trade airframes 1 for 1 and Ukraine runs out first. Run and they lose the striker. So they stop swinging at the drones and go looking for the hand throwing them. Because every interceptor over Moscow is on a leash. And somewhere down in the dark, a truck is holding the other end. A handful of gladiators and 2 loitering munitions break off the dogfight and stop hunting drones. Both have been circling for 10 minutes, fuel ticking down, saving themselves for the one job they came to do. A bearing line snaps across the map, then a second from another angle, and where the two cross sits a truck. That truck is the brain of the whole interceptor swarm, and right now it has no idea it's been spotted. What gave it away is its own radio. To fly a swarm of interceptors, the command post has to transmit constantly, steering each drone, feeding its targets. Two sensors listening from different spots each take a bearing on that signal and cross the lines, and the X is a street address. It works like caller ID for radio. One ear gives you a direction, two ears give you the house. And there's the trap the Russian operator is standing in. The harder he fights the swarm, the more he transmits, and the louder he screams his own position to the things now hunting him. On this screen, the operator watches the threat reverse. Something is tracking him now. The vehicle is hot and loud, fans roaring over the equipment racks, and his thumb has been resting on the transmit key for hours. He knows the choice in front of him cold, because it's the nightmare every defense operator carries. Shut the radio down and his interceptors go blind, or keep transmitting and become a beacon. And he's winning the air battle, so he keeps transmitting. A loitering munition tears off its rail, and this one hunts silence, homing in on the one thing the command post can't switch off, its own radio. It bends hard onto that transmission and rides it down toward the source. If you look here at what's chasing that transmission, it's a small munition that homes on the radio emission itself. And here's the part that matters. Even if the truck cuts its radio at the last second, the weapon remembers exactly where the signal was coming from. It's a hound that doesn't lose the scent just because you stopped running. The operator's one defense, cutting the radio, is the single thing he can't afford to do mid-battle. It's the anniversary question with no right answer. Stay loud and get found. Go quiet and go blind. The truck rolls. Its driver throws it into gear and stands on the pedal, and the diesel screams as the cab lurches out of the tree line hard enough to slam him back into the seat. The radio cutting mid-transmission. Inside the cab, he knows only that the order said move, now. Not that something's already bending out of the sky toward the spot he's leaving. The beacon is gone. Now the munition is chasing a moving target, blind with nothing left to follow. When the signal cut out, something else took over. The nose camera kept hunting, sweeping the tree line, chewing shapes in the dark. Picking the truck back up once it bolts is the hardest thing the machine's done all night, and the margin is paper thin. 3 seconds of it. Then it locks. That lock came from somewhere trained to recognize the truck's shape and chase it. Nobody flying it, no link to the ground. Just a machine hunting a vehicle the way your phone's face unlock hunts for a face. This is the outer edge of what these things can actually do. The munition tips over and punches in, and the truck that was running half the interceptors in the sector erupts in the trees. Up above, dozens of Russian drones that were taking their orders from it go suddenly stupid, circling, waiting for a voice that will never come. One truck gone, and with it a whole layer of the defense. The corridor opens. With the interceptor net coming apart, the surviving drones spill north through the gap, and one of them, alone since the border with no human inside hundreds of kilometers of its controls, breaks past the last ring of defenses, the one the swarm just gutted, and turns for the town of Zelenograd. Then its navigation readout goes insane, coordinates jumping, a map underneath it suddenly lying, the whole satellite picture dissolving into garbage. This is Moscow's spoofing bubble, a blanket of fake navigation signals the Russians broadcast over the capital to send drones and missiles wandering off into empty fields. It's the same trick they use to keep things away from the Kremlin and from wherever their leadership happens to be sleeping that night. The Striker doesn't so much as wobble. Instead, it holds dead level, tracking a water tower and a rail junction sliding past beneath its camera as if nothing had happened. If you look here at what's actually flying it, there's no satellite navigation in the loop at all. The drone matches the ground rolling past its camera against a map baked into its memory, steering by the gas station, the water tower, the bend in the road it already knows by heart. The way you'd find your way home on a dead phone. Ukraine is on the latest generation of this guidance now, built for nights like this, a sky where the satellites lie to you. That's why the same bubble scattering every other drone into the dark farmland can't lay a finger on this one. That memory is the only reason this drone is still in the air, 200 miles past the border. That's Boston to Washington, D.C. by air. Every radar in between hunting it, on its way to the factory that builds the parts that let Russian missiles navigate it all. Below, the town of Zelenograd is asleep. Street lights and dark apartment windows. The place that prints the silicon flying Russia's missiles, with no idea the war just found its address. It slides under the camera now. Tower blocks, a ring road, a rail spur curling toward an industrial park on the edge of it. The plant resolves at the end of that spur. Long, low buildings in the dark. Down there sits one of only a handful of places left in Russia that can still print military-grade guidance chips. The tiny brains that steer KH-101 and KH-555 cruise missiles and Iskander ballistic missiles onto their targets. The U.S. Treasury put this plant on the sanctions list back in 2022. And U.S. Commerce Department export controls slammed the door on the Dutch and American chip-making machines the Russians used to buy without a second thought. Every workaround since has been smuggled, secondhand, or a generation behind. A plant like this is a choke point with no detour. The striker noses over. Below it, the plant swells in the camera. Rooftop, ventilation stacks, the seam of a loading dock. Filling the frame faster and faster as 60 kilograms of warhead rides the last 200 feet down. It doesn't flare or jink. It has no second thoughts, because there's nobody aboard to have any. The picture fills with gray roof, a flash of white. A drone that cost about as much as a used pickup just put a warhead through the roof of one of the few buildings in Russia that can still build the brains for the missiles falling on Kyiv. If you enjoyed this video, watch how Ukraine took out this Russian train. Bye for now.